Chapter 3. Ryuk and Snidge eyed each other for a moment in silence. Ryuk's gaze seemed to bore into the Dalek. He squirmed uncomfortably inside his travel machine. There was no way he could know he was a... "How are you finding Conquest Army Zero?" Ryuk asked flatly.
It is taking a period of adjustment due to differences in the way you conduct yourselves here, but I believe after a few more operations I will be able to operate with maximum efficiency,
Snidge said stiffly, his eye stalk twitching a little. He made an attempt to control himself more. "And is that before or after you make reports to the Supreme Dalek without my authorization?" Ryuk spat. For a moment Snidge was silent. He considered. No, there was no way Ryuk could know. He had merely gotten wind of the report he had sent and was angry. Snidge considered how best to escape with his pride and his life intact.
I was not made aware that Daleks are forbidden from making reports to the Supreme Council. In my last position with the 7th Conquest Army, I often made unscheduled reports. This was never considered a problem. But then I suppose the leaders of the 7th had nothing to hide,
Snidge said snidely. "What are you suggesting?" Ryuk said simply.
You are not a Dalek, this is obvious, but the way you conduct yourself and your Daleks is not standard operating procedure. I simply made the Supreme Dalek aware of this. If you are the Golden Emperor's prized creation, then you should have little to fear.
Ryuk swiftly drew his blade and pointed it at Snidge, who held his ground, although he did eye the sharp point nervously. "Be careful what you say, Snidge. I am your general. I have full authority on Skara and the power of life and death over you. If you so much as put a manipulator arm out of line, I will be watching, so you had better watch yourself." "Understood," Ryuk said quietly. It was his quiet, flat tone that scared Snidge more than the weapon itself.
Is that a threat, General?
Asked Snidge. "Call it some friendly advice," Ryuk said. "You may go." And with that, Snidge turned and glided past Lex and towards the door. "Oh, and Senior Supervisor," Ryuk added. Snidge's dome rotated to look at him. "The next time you betray me, have the guts to do it to my face," Ryuk growled. Snidge's dome rotated back, and he exited with as much haste as he could muster. Lex's eye stalk surveyed Ryuk with what could be considered concern.
"Are you all right, General?"
Lex inquired. "I'm playing things very close to my chest here, Lex. I've got a lot on my mind and I need time to think," Ryuk said.
Think about what?
Lex pushed. "I'm starting to feel like I don't fit into the Emperor's perfect plan. That what the Daleks stand for maybe isn't the right thing." Lex's dome rotated around conspiratorially.
I would be careful who you say that to, General. Although most of your forces are loyal to you, they are also by nature loyal to the Golden Emperor.
"I know. It's not like I'm going to go to Skaro and challenge the Emperor to a duel. I just need to think. Do me a favour, will you? Keep an eye out and see if any of the Daleks here have similar thoughts to Snidge, or if he is just an oddity stuck in his ways. I need to know that my forces can be relied on and that Conquest Army Zero really is mine to command," Ryuk said, his mouth a grim line.
I obey, General,
Lex stated, his lights flashing brightly, and he turned and left. Ryuk sighed to himself and delved into the facets of his own psyche. He began to think. The planet Hayron's landscape was a hodgepodge of desert, fields, and more urban areas, which had the appearance of old-fashioned towns. A small building sat in a row of large trees, which shielded it from sunlight. In the distance, a huge shipping yard could be seen, where large cargo crates were lifted in cranes operated by Vok robots. They were human in shape and feature, but their faces were like serene Art Deco masks. Their secretary and endoskeletons were disguised by padded clothes to make them appear more human. This made them more acceptable to human colonists. Owen always thought it was funny that their metal hands, which he had seen bend tungsten steel, were always adorned in silver marigold rubber gloves. He supposed this was appropriate given the amount of robots who did washing-up duties. Owen and Sirius the clone were passing the shipping yard on their way towards the shaded building. Sirius held a small black gadget which had a screen. The screen was like a sonar detector, and it pinged at regular intervals. "Hayron," Owen said casually. "Not the most pleasant planet I've ever visited, but also not the worst. I like the trees. They look pretty, don't you think?"
"Yes, sir. Very aesthetically pleasing,"
the clone said, a little unsure.
The transmission emanates from anywhere around this area, Commander, but I can't narrow it down any more than that.
Don't worry about it, Owen said as he strode towards the shaded building. I was feeling a little peckish anyway, and thirsty as well, to be honest.
Sir?
Sirius said quizzically. It's a diner, can't you tell? Owen asked.
Not really, sir. It looks dirty and primitive. Not at all like the buildings back home,
Sirius said, realising it had been probably the best part of a year since he had set foot there. Well, these are quite common on border worlds. You just pop in, order some food, and they make it for you. And then you pay for it, and leave, Owen said simply.
Food synthesizers sound a lot more efficient to me, sir,
Sirius said, following him towards the door. Nah, Owen disagreed. I always find them too perfect, like they're rolled off an assembly line. With cooking, every dish can be slightly different. Overdone, underdone, a little more fatty or gristly. There are flaws, imperfections. I miss that. That's why I still cook for myself. That and my food machine broke up with me.
It what, sir?
I swear, it grew legs and walked out, Owen said whimsically. Sirius frowned. He was beginning to suspect the commander was being less than serious. They entered the diner, and a bell dinged gently. The floor was shiny and tiled, with alternating red and white squares. There was only one other customer, a man dressed in shabby drab clothes with obvious holes. Geez, thought Owen, this place was inhabited by hobos. The man had a beard, but the rest of his face was obscured by a hood. Owen dismissed him and went to find a seat on the opposite side of the diner to him. Sirius followed behind him a little awkwardly. With the exception of the mess hall on space stations and spaceships, he had never eaten in a public place like this, and he always had a regular diet dictated to him. This was most irregular. Owen took a seat casually and perused a piece of card. Sirius stood stiffly. Owen looked up at him and then gestured to the seat opposite him. Go on, sit down. You make the place look untidy. Sirius sat down awkwardly onto the seat, and his helmeted head looked down at what Owen was looking at. I think I'll have a bacon sandwich. Here, look at the menu and order what you want. My treat, Owen said, looking around for someone to take their order. As if it had sensed his desire for sustenance, a Vok made its way towards him. It was not like the ones from the shipping yard. This one had affectations that made it appear feminine. It wore a green dress and its face was as blank as any other, but its sculpted hair was formed in a ponytail at the back. The Vok's high heels clacked heavily on the tiled floor. Welcome, it spoke in a synthesized female voice. I am Maid Vok 3, it stated. Owen looked down, and sure enough, emblazoned on the front of her chest were the identifying digits, MV3. May I take your order? The robot asked. Owen proceeded to order his food. 1 bacon sandwich and a cup of coffee, please. Milk, 2 sugars. Owen turned to Sirius. What about you, big guy? Sirius hastily perused the menu. He was unsure. Many of the things he had never even heard of. He wanted something healthy that wouldn't upset his diet plan. The commander was a senior official. He was sure he wouldn't order anything too unhealthy.
I will have the same, sir.
Owen shrugged and nodded to MV3. As you wish. I will be back shortly with your order. Cheers, Owen said cheerfully. He looked over to Sirius again. No offence, man, but I'm getting a bit bored of looking at that damn bucket on your head. Plus, I don't think you'll be able to eat with it on. Go on, take it off. I promise I won't laugh if you have helmet hair. Sirius proceeded to remove his helmet. Owen wasn't surprised when he saw the clone's face for the first time. It was, of course, identical to every other he had ever laid eyes on. The chiselled features of a soldier, sharp, angular eyebrows, focused brown eyes, and dark hair cropped short. That's better, and I definitely picked the right name for you. Sirius. The man across the diner peered over at them suspiciously. He knew who they were. If the clone's armour hadn't already given it away, the Humans' Alliance uniform would certainly have. The man knew it all too well. He wondered what their intentions were here. Could it be that the Alliance had finally come for him? He quietly reached into his pocket and pulled out a small knife. He would not go down without a fight.